Brilliant. So how do you, if you have a client that you look at their nutritional diet and you're sensing that they're avoiding fat, possibly because they believe that dietary fat is going to lead to an increase in body fat, what are the key kind of tools you use to kind of change that belief or help them understand that there isn't a link, that dietary fat won't necessarily increase body fat?
Sure. Well, all of this started with a theory called the lipid hypothesis. And that theory is that there is a direct relationship between how much saturated fat and cholesterol you're eating and the preponderance of things like coronary heart disease and increased body weight. And that entire theory was proposed by a researcher back in the 1950s named Ancel Keys. So up until that point, people really weren't fat phobic and didn't feel that fat was going to be much of an issue. But what happened was Ancel Keys produced a lot of articles that received a lot of publicity, and basically what his articles and his studies were proposing was that this increased saturated fat and cholesterol consumption was responsible for heart disease and people getting overweight and things of that nature. And much of his research was publicized heavily by the vegetable oil industry and the food processing industries and the industries that would profit heavily from people beginning to eat more processed carbohydrates or people beginning to eat more processed vegetable oils and less animal-based fats and butter and things of that nature. Now, the evidence that actually supports this lipid hypothesis is not sound at all. It's basically cherry-picked, and many of the studies that have been done since the 50s to prove that the lipid hypothesis is true basically do things like feed people the wrong types of fats, unnatural vegetable-based oils that have been heated heavily and exposed to pressures for extraction, which is not healthy. They've given people trans fats, high amounts of basically what are called unsaturated oils like margarines and butter substitutes and vegetable oils. And there's really been no study that actually links animal fats, healthy natural vegetable fats, and high cholesterol consumption with heart disease or weight gain. And in contrast, there have been many studies that have shown that the amount of processed sugar that you eat, the amount of starch that you eat, the amount of processed, factory processed fats that you eat are very highly correlated with weight gain and with risk of heart disease.